video games are for nerds. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about them. That's why you're listening to The Week in Gaming, the only gaming podcast that breaks down the last 7 days and tears games apart from the inside. Ugh. So forget your worries, open your ears, and join Simon Miller and a co-host for the entertainment chatter you need. Also, screw Dark Souls.
Hello, welcome to The Week in Gaming with me, Simon Miller. It is a pleasure to have you on board today. We're a day late because I was away yesterday, but you know that. We'll find it eventually, which is the main thing. Thank you to everybody who has jumped on board the Patreon wagon this week, patreon.com/Simon Miller 316. You've no idea. Well, I say no idea much. You help. You are the help. You're the reason these things happen. So thank you very much. And I'm going to push today. If everyone could go to youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules and subscribe to my channel, I'd like that, because I just think it would be nice. Anyway, we'll focus on video games today. I'm joined by always by my main man, Sam Bishop. Sam, how are we today on this kind of rainy yet now sunny day?
Yeah, it was like really nice over the weekend in the sense it was sunny. It was still a bit cold, but now it's just like, okay, cool. Now we're back to England, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like it's just pouring down with rain. Now look out the window, and there's just sunshine and love everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's good, I guess. But hey, look, we move into summer now. It's officially British summertime. If you don't live in the UK, which meant we all got screwed on an hour over the weekends. Not that it really makes a difference to my life. I get up at stupid times anyway. But do away with the clocks moving, I say. Let's get rid of them.
And it means that if you're writing, you had to write BST instead of GMT all the time. And
exactly.
It's just like,
and it screws up. Time differences everywhere. It's a waste of time. It also seems to have chased away video games, which are just, they've gone dead again. So far, I would say, I know there are some big games that have come out, but it's not the most exciting year in the world for video games, is it? It's not like lighting the world on fire or anything like that.
No, there's been a lot of solid games, but nothing that's really interested me per se. I know that Devil May Cry, it was the year of sort of long-awaited sequels so far. Like Resident Evil 2 has been rumored for ages, Kingdom Hearts 3 has been on the way for ages, Devil May Cry 5 has been wanted for ages. But I mean, yeah, we haven't had a sort of a 10 out of 10 earth-shattering blockbuster yet.
No, and I don't even know when the first one is coming. Really, I mean, I'm sure there are. But it kind of feels like this is very much old school, wait till the end of the year. I know a lot of, like Resident Evil 2 and obviously Sekiro, which we'll talk about again later, and the usual things that have come out. But yeah, nothing that's really, I don't think, really got everybody exciting and everybody talking. And most people are still talking about Apex or Fortnite or things like that, and obviously they've been out for ages.
Yeah, there's not been a God of War. God of War was one of those games that got everyone unanimously hyped, but I don't think we've had something like that.
And that came out this time last year, right? It was either February. That's what I thought it was February. And then in June we had Spider-Man too. And
no, it's September.
That's September. Jeez, what came out? I thought something came out. Oh, who cares? Doesn't matter. Point being is that it kind of feels a little bit like meh at the moment, which is nothing wrong with that. I guess you can go outside and do other stuff, but when you're doing a video game podcast, you're kind of looking around going, why is nobody talking about anything? It's like there's nothing to talk about. But there's always things that we can dive into. We've got some news bits, obviously, that we'll talk about. But let's talk about the games we've been playing first, because Sam, you've gone back into Fallout, your favourite game that everybody else hates, and you're playing the survival mode. Now, when we talk about survival mode, are we talking like hardcore survival, or are we just, is it a bit lighter than that? Because I get scared about how big the survival genre is coming, but it's certainly growing year by year, and I don't necessarily like it. In fact, I find it quite hard, and it doesn't really get me excited.
So the survival mode I didn't even realise that survival has those connotations, but it doesn't mean as in the sense that it's more of a survival game. I don't really know why they called it that in hindsight. So what they've done is they've sort of sectioned the game off into, you could either, when you choose to go into the world, which is the world, you could either go to adventure mode or survival mode. So adventure mode, what they've done is they've totally tightened the PvP restrictions, so there's no damage at all that you could do to any other players unless they attack you back. So they've sort of tightened that up. But then again, on the other side of the coin, you now have survival mode. So PvP is totally restrictions all removed. So you can kill people whenever you like, at any point you like. But they've balanced it up so it's not carnage, because if they just made the same game, the same amount of fast travel, the same amount of seeking revenge options, it would just be a bloodbath all the time. And that's why I was sort of not worried about, but I was like, well, I'm not going to want to play this if it's going to be about that. So I've got a list of key points here. So on Death and Fast Travel, you can only respawn at like train stations, your own camp, or Vault 76. And you can't like seek revenge either. So when you die, you can't like go after them like you could before. You can just respawn where I've just listed, or you can pay a certain amount of caps, which is the money, to put a bounty on their head, which then makes them visible in the map. And another thing that works really well is that only the top 3 players on the leaderboard and wanted players are visible on the map. Everyone else is invisible, so you can't go chasing anyone unless they're at the top of the leaderboard. So you can stay invisible and out of the combat for most times if you want to, which is really great. But then if you do want to go after PvP, there are more rewards, like there's double cap rewards. Those who die drop all their junk and some aid items, which might be stim packs. And all XP across the board in survival mode is increased by 20%. So it's really good because there's a certain amount of balance in the sense that there's loads of stuff to get you in there and like to encourage you to play, but it's not like you're just going in there to get like absolutely wrecked by higher level players. There's a certain risk versus reward where you don't have to go after people, but if you do, then you put yourself in a position where you might be more vulnerable as well. And yeah, I thought it was just really good. I was expecting sort of, because when you say, oh, it's a PvP mode, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I know what I'm expecting now. And I just went in expecting to be killed a lot. But it was actually a lot more substance than that. And I think it's a really interesting way to play. Even if you don't really like PvP all that much, it just gives a more... Because obviously the Wasteland is going to be like a hostile place. And I think survival mode in Fallout 76 sort of suits that, because every player encounter you have is like more cautious now because they can kill you at any point. So I really enjoy it. I think it's a good way to play, and I think it adds a bit more sort of variety to the Fallout 76 style, which it needs.
I was going to say, do you think this is kind of the thing? I mean, you know, while it is an MMO or whatever, it's still an offshoot, an offspin of the Fallout series. Do you think it's this kind of stuff they should have done more of to start with, to try and really separate it from the main series, to say, look, you know, it is Fallout. You're going to be, you know, dealing with the same systems and the same environment, the same weapons. However, you can do X, you can do Y, as opposed to, well, we're just going to follow some MMO tropes that you're used to, but you'll be doing it again in a Fallout world. That sounds far more interesting to me than what they were doing before. But again, I never really looked into it other than what we chatted about, because it just wasn't, you know, it's not my thing.
I think it was the best to start off with adventure mode as it was, because the PvP hasn't had much of an incentive right now. But I think if you'd have started off with players being able to kill each other, I don't think that would have helped the game at all. It might have just been like, oh, well, there's technical issues and I'm getting killed all the time. And like, you know, people bounce off of Ark for the same reason. So I think it was good to have that groundwork for the adventure mode laid before they gave other people the survival option. So yeah, I think that was the best way to go with that.
What other updates do they have? I mean, do they have anything huge planned, or is just they announced 3, didn't they?
Well, they've got a whole plan. They've got a whole load of stuff planned for 2019. This is one of the big ones because it's in beta right now, so they're going to keep iterating on this. And they had their first event. It concluded last week. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And then they added new crafting systems like breweries and stuff in the last month. So they're sort of slowly but surely tightening stuff, improving stuff, and adding content. So yeah, it's definitely getting there. I'm just hoping that it just keeps getting supported. That's the big thing. Well, as I've said before.
Yeah, they've done really well with Elder Scrolls, though. Elder Scrolls is always... I mean, I don't know what the player base of that is, but they have never abandoned that. And I hear so little about it, which doesn't mean that it's not doing well. But, you know, I'm always surprised when I hear that it's still going and it's still getting updates. And I'm going to try and find out, as I say. So I presume they're going to do the same with that. I mean, why abandon it? It's online Fallout, which people have been wanting for ages.
Yeah, I just hope they just sort of, because you could imagine them in some cases, you can imagine them dropping the support for this game considering what happened. But yeah.
Well, apparently there's an article out there that says Elder Scrolls Online has 10 million accounts. This is on PC, and they have 2.5 million monthly active users. It's pretty good. And I imagine Fallout's just as popular. It's probably got more right now as well, because of the Elder Scroll would have peaked and then fall. I imagine they're gonna keep it that way for a while. And I like that, because I think you can't do this again, if that makes sense. The whole point of doing this model is it should keep going for ages. And then if it doesn't, you know, what do you do? And Sam, you continue to be its biggest supporter, which I like.
Yeah, I just think it's worth just like now that the bandwagon has died down, it's not a bandwagon. That makes it sound like it was hated for the wrong reasons. But now that it's sort of the fury is over, I think the community that they have are now, it's been whittled down to the people who really want to commit to it, and Bethesda sort of just slowly releasing just more and more and more and keeping their heads down. And it's a good time, I think, to get into the game because it still has its technical problems, but I think it's at the point where if you say you like it, it's like not that bad. So people can, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I think I'm just trying to say like a lot of people wouldn't just dismiss it because it's at the point where it's being hated so much. People might actually be more open to be like, okay, cool. It's been added to a lot. Like No Man's Sky has got a lot of players since the launch because of the stuff they built upon. And I think it's going to get to that point with 76 as well.
It is ridiculous, isn't it? That people will go in ready to judge it just because they've already decided they don't like something. Hey, that's the 2019 world that we should live in. I don't think I'll ever play it. I don't even think I'd play Fallout, whatever the next one would be. Is it Fallout 5? Fallout 4? I can't remember the last one that came out was.
Fallout 5, who knows?
I can't remember. But even if they did that, I don't think I'd play it. Just because I've talked about before, the Bethesda model for me, I've done myself on it. Until they make a huge change with it, I don't really want to get back involved. But I think there may be a few people feeling that way, and to be able to jump in and jump out of the online version, I think it's a good idea. And I don't know what they're going to do at E3. I know they announced their conference the other day. I mean, they'll have Doom and they'll have Rage. But
I think they've said that Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 won't be there, so I really don't know what they're going to do then.
Well, I don't think the next Elder Scrolls is going to be around till next year when the new consoles are announced. What is the point of releasing another Elder Scrolls now with that unless you can do something? I don't necessarily think this is the best way to go, but I would imagine Bethesda want to be able to go, look how good it looks and look how big the world is, and you can do this and you can do that. And surely that means better console, better power, just more oomph, more bang for your buck. I don't know how much you can do on Xbox. I mean, the Xbox One and PS4 to me have been maxed out with Red Dead. And if you're not going to beat that, which I doubt they are, go do something else. And the best way to do that is to wait for new consoles and stuff to come along. But look, I like that they're still supporting it. Bethesda are good like that. Despite that backlash and the thing with the bags, I think more often than not, Bethesda treat their fans pretty well. That seems to be my opinion of it anyway. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. This is like a wider talking point, but I feel like Bethesda has sort of earned a lot of the benefit of the doubt, if you know what I mean. I know they've messed up and stuff, but they have delivered Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, Fallout 3, and New Vegas. Those are just 5 games they delivered, which are all critically acclaimed. So I don't really know why they don't have the benefit of the doubt. If it was somebody like EA, you could imagine people being like immediate backlash because of their past history, but I don't think Bethesda's that bad historically, really. Maybe I'm just naive to what they've done, but everyone seemed very quick to jump on them, considering how good they've been in the past.
I don't think so. And I think issues like the whole canvas bag, and they dealt with it eventually. Their initial response wasn't very good.
Yeah, no, that wasn't.
But at the same time, it's like, maybe that is the case. So they have grown a lot over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Maybe that is just a case of kind of entering this space alongside the likes of EA, Ubisoft, Activision. I mean, I don't think they're that big, but they're certainly on their way. And realising you're going to make stumbles. As long as you learn from them, and as long as you do the right thing eventually and then don't do them again, that's what a lot of people don't do. So if that's what they are doing, I think, like you say, I think they have built up the respect, and if they can keep that going, it's nice to have companies like that. I mean, even EA, when they laid those people off last week, said, we don't feel like with the Electronic Arts of old, and we need to redo this and balance out that. So even they're admitting now that they need to do something as well. Yeah. So, I like Bethesda. I mean, I think they've never done wrong by me, and I know a lot of people have. With other companies. I've also been, in terms of what we've been playing, I played more Sekiro, Shadows Die twice.
Nice.
The most ridiculous thing is I played it for around about another 6 hours, and in terms of progression, probably got about 15 minutes ahead of where I was before I sat down to play it again, because that sub-boss took me around about 3 hours, I think. Which was just horrible. And the worst thing about it was, and people are going to say, I told you, this proves that the game works. And I disagree with that for all the reasons we talked about last week. With the time I did it, yes, I did it in, so all the other attempts were taking me sort of, 8 to 10 minutes. And I was using the, what do you call it, the revive, or whatever the fling is, when you die and you get back up again. You get one of those each turn. I didn't have to use that at all, and I honestly beat it in around about 4 minutes. And you kind of think, well, how the hell did I do that? And yes, okay, I've learned. That's what happened. But I would much rather I could say that from maybe sort of half an hour to 45 minutes, as opposed to 4 times that amount. And when he was dead, was I pleased? No. Was I satisfied? No. I mean, there was a a rush when I finally realized I've done it. But I don't feel like it was a worthy waste of my time. And what I really don't understand about those games is, straight away I walked into a new area where there were 4 enemies all over me at once, and I didn't feel like I'd learnt enough that I could take them on, so I just legged it. And then I ran into another sub-boss, which is a giant ogre that can kill you in 2 hits. And I'm just like, where is the downtime? Where is the... I'm still early on in that game. Again, progression-wise, I've probably only played it for, say, 3 hours. I've played it over 10. But in terms of, where I've gotten to, and I don't feel like I ever had any chance to get better with without the difficulty bar rising to such a level that it doesn't piss me off. I mean, why do I have to go to sub-boss to sub-boss within basically around about 4 minutes of each other? And when you do get that as well, they're not even sub-bosses. They're just enemies that you're fighting that just happen to be really, really, really difficult. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the foundations. I don't understand the layout. It doesn't make me want to go back. Like, I did these 2 videos because, VG247 nicely said, Simon, we think it'd be funny to watch you break as a human. And they're not wrong. I watched it back. I laughed. It made me chuckle like an idiot. But, from an entertainment point of view, I don't understand. Unless you're so good, you can adapt to everything you've learnt really quickly, and I can't. I just think it's crazy, and it wears me out, and I'm not, I think it's worse than Dark Souls in terms of its infuriating nature, and that's the last thing that I wanted.
That does sound weird, because you have a lot of downtime, I remember, in Bloodborne and Dark Souls to take on, the regular dudes, the grunts, to sort of practice the mechanics. It sounds like there's a bit more condensed big bad dudes rather than a lot of grunts in between bosses this time. At least from what you're saying.
I think so. Again, I'm not the authority, because the only one that I've ever gone through the whole way is Bloodborne, and even I will say that Bloodborne feels far more accessible than Sekiro does. But in any game, no matter who makes it, From Software or anyone, I don't want to have to go. And again, in this game, they're not bosses for all the reasons I just laid out. But I don't want to go from really hard enemy to really hard enemy where I'm dying, repeating, because the loading times aren't bad. But they're still a minute and a half. And after a while, when you're sat there doing nothing for that, that time builds up. And you just I get so run down. And I get so bored. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's just, it's not for me. It was never going to be for me. I think my real, not struggle, that's the wrong word, because everybody's different. But I'm just surprised about how much people love it. And I understand they said they enjoy having their ass kicked. But I can't, I just don't get it. And I don't think I'll ever get it. And this, out of everything, maybe other than Dark Souls 1, because I will always stand by my opinion that I think Dark Souls 1, they actually broke it and somehow managed to get away with it. It is one of the most frustrating games I think I've ever played in my life. And there's a good chance I will never, ever go back to it again.
Yeah.
And I know nobody agrees with me. I've been tweeted. I understand. I'm an asshole. I need to get good. Whatever. Don't care. Don't like it. Thumbs down.
Those people still exist.
I know. It's almost like you play it not to enjoy it yourself, but to kind of indoctrinate everybody else. And if you find out that somebody's not enjoying it, you go out of your way to drag them down with you. I find it crazy. But
yeah,
I don't know how it's done. I know it got to number 1 on the charts because I imagine that Activision took this on. I don't think they took it on for sales, right? It's not like a game you take on for sales. So I wonder why Activision, what the benefit here was, other than maybe trying to, win back a portion of the audience that maybe has turned their back on them because they don't agree with their business practice. Because obviously they're the big fish in town now, so everyone's like, screw it, who cares about that? I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's got. I've said this before. It's got a guaranteed audience, if you know what I mean. It's not like a mainstream title because of its difficulty.
Yeah, it's dropped down to 3rd now. Yoshi's Crafted World got to number 1. The Division at number 2. The fact that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still hanging around at 5, I don't necessarily think it sold loads. And look, I would like all games to do well. Of course I would. I don't get any pleasure of a video game not selling well. But yeah, I'm just fascinated about what the long game is with this type of genre.
Yeah.
But hey, man, we'll find out. I can officially say not for me. I don't think I can go back to them anymore. I'm getting old, and I think eventually I'm going to kill people. I don't really think that's a good idea.
That's sort of why I did. Not getting old, but just like, I just can't be bothered. I'm not going to put myself through it. Because I get to a point where I'm just like, I have to finish this now because I've gotten so far, and I don't want to finish it, but I'll go into it anyway.
Exactly.
So I
would just like to point out, as a joke, I'm not actually going to kill people. I know sometimes people go and find clips from podcasts and unleash them on Twitter as if that's in context.
Without context.
Yeah, so I've said it now, so I will just, retaliate with a bit when I said this. I clarified it's a joke. Right, on to some news. I think the biggest, it was quite big news actually, especially the reaction on the internet. Borderlands 3 got announced, there was a trailer. It's going to be like 7 trillion billion guns or something ridiculous. A lot of them had legs, which was strange. Just guns with legs. I was like, okay, well, what do you do when you run out of gun ideas? Give them legs. We're also getting a Borderlands collection or whatever you want to call it, updated versions for the PS4 and Xbox One. So if it just makes perfect sense, right? You announce a new one and say, hey, before that, go back and play the old ones. Give us some more money too. I mean, look, it looks very Borderlands. But given that it's been, 6 years? It's been a while, hasn't it, since Borderlands 2?
I think 2012 was Borderlands 2.
Well, there we go. So, it's been ages. I think you can not that you can get away with a lot. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game, but I think the desire for a new one was so much. It was
I think its style is enough where you could just put that on a modern TV and a modern console, and that would look pretty good. You know what I mean?
No, I do agree. Are you a big fan of the old ones? I think you said you played them, right?
I think I'm just like I did play them both, and I just don't have any. When I look back in my emotion box, I'm just like, yeah, I played at Borderlands. I guess they're all right. I'm quite excited to go back to the other ones because there's not many like proper co-op like worlds like Wildlands or something like that. Story-driven worlds. So that's quite good to go back to and have that option. But I'm not like, I love Borderlands. You know what I mean?
I don't think anyone is like that either, do they? Like, I don't think it's. I never see crazy Borderlands fans. It just seems to be that a lot of people enjoy it for what it is. Like you said, I think the co-op thing is big. I think everybody just enjoys, again, because it's built for co-op as well. It certainly has a nod over the competition. And again, all the crazy guns. It's very loot focused. Everyone loves loot. We know that. And like you say, the art style certainly stands out. So, but I'll be intrigued. I mean, the rumor is it's going to come out September the 13th. This is all based on a Borderlands tweet that came out and it was officially deleted really quickly when I think maybe somebody went, And also, interestingly enough, it was, I don't know how true this is, it could be, you never know, but given that we've talked about this before, the deleted ad pointed to the Epic Games Store. Which, of course... and now, this did happen on April the 1st, I should point out. Now, I don't think it was an April Fool, because you wouldn't delete an April Fool. That would be the worst. That's the worst thing.
It's also not the best joke to be like, it's releasing in September.
Yeah, especially to say, it's releasing in September only on the Epic Games Store. That's just a way to piss off your fan base. And with all due respect to Gearbox, that's the last thing they want to do right now. I think they've pissed off their fan base enough over the years. So maybe September. I mean, I think it probably makes sense. You're getting away, I think September, October, to keep away from sort of the crazy rush. Yeah. Other than that, again, I've just watched the trailer. This is most of the stuff that I read on the internet, so it would probably mean more to those who already know about Borderlands, but there's something called the Mask of Mayhem. What that is, I don't know. Apparently it ties into Handsome Jack. I mean, this is proper Borderlands lore. There's Vault Hunters. I don't know who Vault Hunters are, but apparently they're going to be in the game.
Vault Hunters are just the player, because you're all looking for the vault with loads of loot in.
Right, okay. So we're going to have new Vault Hunters, basically. That's the idea. Loads of talk about the characters. I mean, I could name them here, but it seems silly. Who the villains are going to be. I mean, even I knew this one when I saw it. It's clearly set on Pandora again. It does look like you go to other places, but that's still the bad. Claptrap's back. There'll be loads of loot. Most of Gearbox is working on Borderlands 3, so it is going to be a proper AAA massive game. It's not like they've, cut their developmental team or anything like that because of whatever. And yeah, you're going to get the Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel getting updates and all those kind of stuff. To me, again, like we said, I think they can just stick to what they know. People are excited about it. People want it. They've kind of pitched that very well by not overdoing it in terms of releases and being very quiet about it. And they're coming back from their Battleborn nonsense as well, which I know was a while ago now, but I don't think they've had a good game, or at least an attempt at a good game since then. So, yeah we will see what goes down. But hey, that's Borderlands 3 coming out this year. Not for me, I won't play it, but hey, co-op, loot game, all about, completely understand the appeal, and more power to you if you're excited about it.
Yeah.
Sega Mega Drive Mini I'm more interested in. Whether or not I get one, I don't know. Again, it all comes down to that list of games. They haven't announced them all, but Sega confirmed it will come out in September. Obviously, if you're an American listener, that will be the Sega Genesis Mini. I don't know why they called it the Mega Drive over here, I don't know, but it'll have something to do with copyright. The games announced so far are Sonic the Hedgehog, Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania, Bloodline, Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Earthworm Jim, Comic Zone, Altered Beast, and Gunstar Heroes. The biggest problem I have with that list is I feel like a lot of those games were released so many times on things like Xbox Live Arcade that I don't feel the the need to play them again. Like, Alter Beast especially has become overdone at this point. It was like super nostalgia when it first came out. It's a crap game anyway, we all know that. But I played that so many times and, you know, with the knowledge of my adult brain, realised that it's shite. I don't feel like I need to go back into it. Sonic the Hedgehog I never need to play again. You know, I mean, it's great to have it, but if I went the rest of my life and never played, I would still remember every single level. And while there are some cool things in like Castlevania Bloodlines, Echo the Dolphin, I put in the same thing. Shining Force is good, but it's niche. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, I would argue there's better versions of that out there right now you can play on your phone. Yeah. Earthworm Jim I like, but Comic Zone was the same thing. I remember
I don't think Earthworm Jim's in there anymore. I think it's updated though, because Toe Jam and Earl is in there. I don't think Earthworm Jim's in there anymore.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's the one that I wanted.
That's the one I wanted too.
Why did it get taken out?
I don't know.
Hang on.
Let's
let's
look this up.
That's good. You're right, though. You're 100% right. For some reason, the list I got, that was copied and pasted from a website, but you are right. That's gone, and Toe Jam and Earl are in. What the flip is that about? I was pumped for Earthworm Jim, because that game was really funny, much like the cartoon, which everybody forgets about. I can't even find a news story on it now. It's just bringing me up to, what do you call it? Like, places to buy Earthworm Jim, which I would do. But I don't feel the need to. Well, I have no idea what happened there. Was that just a mistake?
I literally have no idea, because I'm seeing some outlets being like, "Oh, we reported this, but now it's this." I'm just like, "Oh my god, I don't know." But there's definitely like, I think there was different. It might be the difference in the East and Western version. So I think the West is getting Toe Jam and Earl. It may be that the East is getting Earthworm Jim. I don't really know, but either way, there was some confusion about Earthworm Jim and Toe Jam and Earl.
Well, that sucks.
Earthworm Jim was the one. So underrated.
Because am I going to play all of Shining Force on something like that? No, it's a really long video game. Gunstar Heroes is fine. Castlevania Bloodlines is a good addition. I don't think that's a Castlevania game that many people remember, and it's really good. Space Harrier 2 I can take or leave, and that's the thing. It's just because the nostalgia trip we had, sort of 2008-ish. A lot of these, Comic Zone, for example, I'd never played Comic Zone, but then it got released on Xbox Live Arcade, and I played it. And I remember everybody was excited about that then. But do I need to go back and play it now? I don't necessarily think that I do. So I think much like a lot of the minis, other than the last one that obviously had Star Fox 2 on it, which gave you a real reason to buy it. I feel like they're there for nostalgia and have a little quirky thing that you kind of enjoy as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, and I don't think not like with the PlayStation 1, the NES, and the SNES minis, they haven't had collections. Whereas that's where there's been Mega Drive collections released on 360.
Oh man, loads of them. Yeah,
there's been so many of them. Like you don't need a 80, 70 quid console to play them on. I mean, it's good for the convenience and HDMI and the sort of novelty of it, but you could just get the HDMI collection, or the Mega Drive collection on either PS4 or Xbox 360 and get a load of those games.
That's it as well, isn't it? What is the benefit of getting it in mini version? There isn't one, is there? Is there? I don't think there is.
I mean, I think people just like the mini console. I think that's just a thing that people like.
I don't know. It's strange. It's very, very strange. But look, if you're excited about it, great. Do we know how much it costs? I don't think I saw, or did I see a price and I've now forgotten about it? I'm going to look that up quickly as well, because that's always definitely comes out in September. Sega Mega Drive mini price, 70 quid. Nah, I think for 70 quid you could buy all those games somewhere else. Anyway, look, if you're excited about it, good for you. That sounded patronising, I didn't mean it. An interesting story coming out today as well is that apparently the pre-owned market in the UK is dying in terms of video games, which is hilarious, because do you remember when that killed an Xbox? Because they didn't want to have pre-owned things, and now everybody's saying that it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't surprise me either. Like, you never really hear about people talking about the pre-owned market anymore, and I don't really think it's a thing. I mean, software sales are down 30.8% year on year in the UK. That goes down from a value of 98.2 million to 67.9 million, which is massive. And I don't know. To me, I guess people are moving to digital. That's going to be a huge thing. And I think we see that when people come out with these are our physical sales. But also, I just think video games have kind of changed. The pre-owned market used to be where you go because you wanted to buy a big AAA game for 10, 15 quid. But now, I mean, it certainly helps that games such as, Fallout that we were talking about earlier are designed to be played for months. You don't really trade in a Fallout, do you? Because it's not worth it. But even something like I guess God of War is probably... I guess that's it. We just moved to this persistent online world model, and therefore you want to play it with your mates. Everyone's playing the same thing, so you don't get rid of it, because that's what you do at the weekends. That's what you do in the evenings. But I won't... I know a lot of people used to hate the pre-owned market. I just used to think it made loads of sense, but I don't think it hurts video games, it petering out. It's probably been for the best down the line.
Yeah, it's sad though, because I always liked home pre-owned games, but realistically I haven't bought one for a while, so it's one of those things I'd like to see existing for a while. But I guess with music as well, like I'd like to see the physical music market, like records and CDs, stick around. But when everything is going digital for convenience's sake, it's hard to sort of... If you're not the one investing and spending money in that market, it's hard to argue for them sticking around, because you're part of the reason why I guess it's dying. So yeah, it's sad to see, but it's also a case of like, if you go to Game or whatever, like their pre-owned games are still well expensive. So it's not like you're getting that much of a bargain. And with like Steam sales and PlayStation sales and Xbox sales, you could probably just wait and get a really good game for a much better price.
I mean, that's 100% it. That's spot on. I mean, when you go into CEX and you see a Switch game especially, and it's £45, like, why am I going to buy that? I don't want to buy that. I could get it, cheaper probably elsewhere. It's just too much. Switch games especially seem to hold their value, or maybe that's just Nintendo in general. But yeah, maybe that's it. And if that is dead, Microsoft, you can go nuts now. Ain't nobody holding you back. Ain't no one going to care, because the digital market, you're just ahead of the game, Microsoft. That's all it was. You were ahead of the game. Never mind. You just should have done it. You just should have done it a little bit later. But oh man, it does make me laugh. My last piece of news I had as well. This is bizarre. Bulletstorm Duke of Switch edition. Yes. Which of course is Bulletstorm coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's the big swanky one they did at the end of its life cycle. But you can play as Duke Nukem in it. I mean, what Switch owner was going, they better flipping release Bulletstorm on Switch? I mean, like, Bulletstorm is great, don't get me wrong. Bulletstorm is really fun, but yeah.
I keep forgetting loads of people like Bulletstorm. I feel like it's just sort of a bit of everyone just sort of silently loves it, you know what I mean? It's a strange little game, but I mean, on Switch it's going to be great, so...
I mean, look, walking around with that where there is a story, but the whole point is to run around and shoot your gun and have a good time. I think a lot of people will enjoy that, but it's one of those things that came out and I was like, really? Is this a thing? Like, I didn't know that was a thing. But hey, man, good. Look, Bulletstorm was awesome. It was awesome. And it was meant to kind of take that Gears of War mantle and fly the flag, but it didn't work. But hey-ho, you can look forward to that as well. Sam, you got any other news beats or other bits that you've been playing you want to talk about? Otherwise, I've gone and got a ton of questions that we'll go through. And we'll
Hellblade's been announced for Switch as well, so that's pretty cool.
Did it?
Yeah, just today.
Oh, there we go. So that's coming. Man, the Switch has got everything. What doesn't the Switch have? That's ludicrous.
I swear it must be like forcing developers to up their game in terms of streamlining stuff, because to put Hellblade on the Switch, I was like, wow, good job. Like, if you've managed to put it on the Switch, good. Wow.
Well, again, I say this all the time, but again, if you can get it on the Switch, you win. Because if you get it on the Switch, straight away, well, you couldn't play it portable before. It's like, it's true. You can't do that.
Hellblade on a plane.
Yeah. I mean,
on the toilet.
I mean, you wouldn't been able to do that on anything else. So fair play to Hellblade of all the games. See, people loved that as well, didn't they, when it came out?
It's great, yeah.
It is great. It is really, really good. All right, we'll answer some questions. Again, it's been a quiet week, so I thought we'd get it. Joshua Watson, you can start us off. Is the Call of Duty franchise dying? Well, you can't say that, Josh, because I remember people saying that back in 2014, if not earlier. When did Modern Warfare come out? 2007. So then really people started to say that it will die at 2010, didn't they? It was about 3 years afterwards. This is the end. This is the last one. And the other thing with Call of Duty games is that when they don't sell very well, you actually look at what they're selling compared to anything else and you go, oh, they're still making millions and millions of dollars. I don't think they're going anywhere for a while. I think people still like the format. I think Activision are quite clever with the bits they add. Obviously, Battle Royale mode's in there. That's free to play this weekend as well, I think. So, if you want an ID, you may play it and go, oh, I like this, and you'll buy back in. I think that it's not as big as it once was. I think Fortnite and, those kind of games have taken the mantle as the game that people will talk about. But I still think Call of Duty is going to be fine for some time to come in terms of making money.
Yeah, Activision had record financial year, didn't they? And that was the flagship. That's Call of Duty, this flagship franchise. So they're pretty all right.
Yeah, I mean, I just think maybe creatively it's dead, but it's not. what am I saying here? It's not. People are still playing it. I mean, why am I trying to overcomplicate it? People are still playing it, and that's all that matters. And again, it's a bit like World of Warcraft. It will probably peter out over the next 5 to 6 years, but because of the model they have, it will continue to make money. And that's all that matters. So no, it's not dead. It's not dead.
And it's a bit of a blank canvas. Like if Battle Royale was just applied onto it, and then it drove sales like mad. So it could sort of adapt with the times as well. And it's like Pokemon Go. Like it could lose 90% of its players and still be doing really well.
So, yeah, exactly. Which it is. Pokemon Go still makes a fortune, but because we don't hear about it as much, you presume.
You were saying it's dead. Like, look at the numbers, man. Look at the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. I just saw a really good question. I've never heard of it, so I thought, well, I want to ask that in case Sam has done it, and now I've lost it. Hang on.
Oh, now I'm curious.
Hang on, I'll find it again. There it is. Do you remember Battle Arena Toshinden? My answer is no. I don't even know what Battle Arena Toshinden is, but Sam, I'm hoping you can...
No, I've heard of it, but that's about it. I can't do much on the name.
I'll type it in. To be nice. Battle Arena. There it is. I mean, no, I do not remember that at all. It's a beat-em-up. Battle Arena Toshinden is a weapons-based fighting game developed by Tamsoft and published by Takara and Sony Computer Entertainment in 95-96 for the PlayStation, Saturn, Game Boy, and MS-DOS. Sorry, dude, you win that one. Never heard of it. Patsy, what was your first game console? Well, mine was the NES. And no one ever believes me because the NES was already dead by the time I was a kid. But hey, that's what we got. My parents somehow got a NES from somewhere and I played it. And that was the start of I was on a NES. And then we stuck with Nintendo from then out, which is why I always love Nintendo more than anything else. So, yeah, simple as that.
On as the original PlayStation.
Man, this goes to show Sam is younger than me. No, I'm not. I've just kind of skim read these and realised some of these are going to be crazy. Ty192 says, if you could look like any video game character for the rest of your life, who would it be? People that kind of look like you don't count. It's the most ridiculous question ever. Oh, now I'm trying to think of... I mean, there must have been Hollywood actors in video games, right? I need to think of one, and I need to jump down that straight away, and I can't. So I'll just go with... Well, I don't really look like Marcus Phoenix. I'm going to go with Marcus Phoenix. He's twice as big as more than that. I go Marcus Phoenix. He's gruff, he's big, he's angry, he makes me happy, and he's the best video game character ever. So I'll be Marcus Phoenix.
He's a real man with real guns.
He's a real man with real guns. I can't say it anymore, Sam. People don't get that joke. They get mad. They got mad back then, to be fair. But yeah, he's a real man. What was it? He's a real man with real guns in a real war. Oh, in a real game. Good times, I tell you. Good times. Sam, who would you like to look like for the rest of your life, Sam? The rest of your life.
King from Tekken, because he's buff and he's got what is it, Jaguar mask or something?
Is it a mask or is it his face? I was confused.
It's definitely a mask because he's a luchador wrestler. I thought it was his head for the longest time because I was a big fan of him as a kid, and I was like, oh no, wait, it's just a mask, and I was like, oh. Okay.
I always thought it was like a throwback to Japanese wrestling, but as a kid I didn't know about that. So I was like, is he just a Tiger Man? Like, is that all this is?
Armor King as well, just brothers.
Oh, so weird. What a weird game.
Yeah, definitely King though.
Done. Alex McKee, have you competitively played any video game? If yes, which one? If no, which one would you play? No, I've never been any good at any video game. If I had to play one, I guess Gears of War. But I mean, there was a time when I was all right at Gears of War, but even then I used to get my ass handed to me. But I just played it a lot, so you get better. I mean, I would try Gears of War, but I wouldn't do very well. That's the truth.
No, I've never played competitively either. I'm a very good roadhog on PS4 on Overwatch, if I do say so myself. But that's literally it. I can't go just playing one hero quite well and the rest pretty shit and be like, yep, pro.
Surely the Overwatch scene as well is way hard. That must be proper intense, that competitive
That's on PC.
scene.
Like, if you're good at a game on console, it doesn't really help you.
Yeah, no.
Because all of the esports are on PC. So.
Absolutely. Jack with 5Ks. What do you think is the most underused mechanic in video games? Well, active reload.
I love a bit of active reload.
Well, it's just reloading is so pointless in many ways, right? I get why you do it because it's more visceral and feels like you're in the game. But to actually tie a mini game, I've talked about this 1,000 times, but to tie a mini game around it that's actually fun and rewards you in the game, but is never overpowered. Genius. Every shooting game should have it, and yet nobody does it. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, active reload all the way.
I'm going to cheat and go with the thumbstick controlling a skateboard in Skate because they clearly don't have a patent on it because there's two games coming out like Session and Pro Skater XL that are using similar things. But like, like Skate 3 was in 2010, and nobody has used that since. And that's so good. Like the Tony Hawk method was so arcadey, but this was just like had the delicacy and the finesse for skateboarding, and it works so well. And I just want more skate, really.
Can you patent those things? Because no one patented active reload either. Is that just something you're not allowed to do?
I think someone patented like having mini games on the loading screen. I think that was a game from ages ago that did that. So I think you can patent whatever you want, but it depends whether the patent is accepted or not.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to look into this now. I'm going to do a big podcast on it. I don't have a clue, man.
Allegedly. Let's put a quote, allegedly.
Dot. Is that a thing on my screen? No, your name is just Dot. What game series do you feel is overlooked? Overlooked.
Skate.
Well, yeah, Skate. Yeah, it's fair. I'm looking around.
I don't think it's overlooked. I think it's looked, but it just hasn't been looked for a while.
I don't know what is over. I don't think anything's overlooked anymore because social media makes such a big song and dance about everything. I mean, no, nothing new. I mean, RC Pro-Am back in the day, but maybe back in the day, RC Pro-Am was the best game ever. Overlooked. I don't think any game is overlooked. Even because back in the day, I would look at games like Capcom or something like Resident Evil 2. You know, if that had come out sort of maybe a couple of years, maybe a few, no one would care. But it smashed it. Monster Hunter smashed it. I don't think many games do get overlooked anymore. Alonso Rodriguez Wong, which is obviously the best name ever. Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask? Not even a question. Majora's Mask is an amazing game, an amazing idea, but it's not fun. I don't think anyway. I love they could do that with Zelda. But Ocarina of Time is majestic and responsible for half the games we're playing today. So Ocarina of Time all the way.
Yeah, I've never agreed with anything more. Like Majora's Mask, the concept is interesting and there's a lot of fun stuff in it. But fuck that time limit mechanic. Sorry, I don't know what the attitude is to swearing, but like, honestly, like that time limit mechanic just annoys me so much. It's not nice to play. I mean, to replay everything.
No, that's what ruined Dead Rising for me. I didn't want to have to keep going back to the game over and over again. I just wanted to run around and beat up some zombies. And maybe in hindsight, it was good for that franchise as a whole, but not for me when I just wanted to sit down and play it. It's the reason I didn't buy that game. I was just like, I played it. I don't want it. Nah, it's not for me. It's not for me. So no, I appreciate Majora's Mask, but I don't like it, which is a terrible thing to say. Sam, this one's over to you because I never played either. Positive Vibes, Crash or Spyro? Well, I know what you're going to answer.
I think, like, legit, I am a Spyro fan at heart, but I actually do think Spyro has more substance. Crash was like a sort of 2D platformer in the 3D space, in the sense that you're always sort of moving one direction, and you're just sort of, it's very like, it's almost like a corridor shooter. Like, it has very limited substance in that sense, in my opinion. And obviously, like that, just because it's similar to a 2D platform, it doesn't mean it's less good. But I think Spyro had more interesting mechanics. It had the mini games like skateboarding in the later games. It had open worlds. It had more collectibles. It had just sort of more to it, I think, and you get more hours out of it. Personally, that's why I think it's just a better series.
I can't argue with that. And he also asked Tekken or Street Fighter. And the answer to that one is always Street Fighter. Street Fighter is one of the best games ever.
I've never been a Street Fighter person. I've not really played them. So I really do like Tekken, though. So I think even if I did, I'd probably say Tekken. It's all about what you grew up with, though, isn't it?
I mean, with those games, it really is. Whatever you come to first is what you love. It's just how it works. Ben Woodhouse, is there any games that you don't like that you wished you enjoyed? Yeah, Dark Souls. Because then I wouldn't have to put up with that shit. But at the same time, I feel like I'd waste my life playing them, so maybe I don't care. But it would be nice if I got League of Legends, things like that really seem to grab hold of people and draw them in. I never understood them, and they're never really for me. So yeah, games like that would be great to understand why people love them. But hey ho, that's just life.
Yeah, wish you liked but didn't. I can't really think of any apart from the fact that I wish I'd sort of got the appeal, the 10 out of 10 appeal of Last of Us. I didn't dislike it, but I as someone who really likes story-driven games, I wish I experienced what everyone else seemed to. But it just didn't click the same way.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think
didn't dislike it.
Yeah, because especially when it's a 10 out of 10 thing, because you want to buy into the hoopla and the hype, don't you?
Yeah, maybe if someone hadn't told me it was 10 out of 10 and gone on about it as they did, I would have been much happier with it.
Oh, that's true. It's true. Screen. I don't have the answer to this. What's your favourite Jack game? I've never played a Jack game. My favourite Jack game is the gym, where you get jacked.
Nice.
You ever played Jack, Sam?
No, I've heard very good things about Jack and Dexter and all that, but I think that's an overlooked series because whenever you talk about that in the same category, like things like Ratchet and Clank steal the spotlight. But yeah, Jack and Daxter was very popular for its time.
They made a movie as well. Was that the other one?
Well, Ratchet and Clank got a movie.
Ratchet and Clank. I get them confused. They're the same. They're the same to me. Gozzy Gosborn, which is also the best name ever.
Nice.
What is the most in the middle game? Everybody talks about best and worst. I want to pick your favorite that's never a part of those conversations. I actually have an answer for this as well.
Oh,
And it's the Tomb Raider from 2008 was the remake. Is that right? 2012, whichever, 2010.
what, the Crystal Dynamics?
Yeah. Whenever the hell that
2013,
first,
yeah.
2013. Whenever that remake came out, I said this before. That is the most 8 out of 10 game ever. It was never going to be able to score more than that, but it's brilliant. Probably one of my favorite games that year because it's just so much fun. It knows exactly what it wants to be. It just is, the most stereotypical video game ever in terms of what you'd expect from a video game of that ilk. But it's so well done, so well made. Lara Croft's a really well put together character. Great levels, crazy deaths where spikes are going through people's heads, which gives you that value. It's a fantastic game, but no more than 8 out of 10. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I'd go with Ghost Recon Wildlands because literally nothing about it is very good if you play on your own. But the fact that you can just play the entire, that's a big world with lots to see. And the fact that it's all co-op is cool, you've done enough. I don't care about the story. I don't care about anything else you're doing. But you've just given me a nice world to play around in. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's all I need. I think for a time, Red Faction was like that as well, the Xbox 360 one, where you could just run around and screw things up, but you'd never give it more than a 7 because there's nothing there. There's no substance whatsoever, but it's damn fun. And that's the main thing. Joe O'Neill, he's peeling it back. In your opinion, have the influx of video games in the past 30, 40 years brought an overall positive or negative effect to us as a whole? Joe, you don't listen, but you never listen. No, I'm joking. Look, I mean, you can argue it both ways with any form of entertainment, but ultimately, video games, I think, have enriched many people's lives. It's created jobs. Some people who are struggling with life find freedom and they find happiness through video games. So you can never say they're bad. Now, I know there's loads of stories about video games linked to this and video games linked to that. Well, that was the same with music, movies. This is the most old school conversation ever. You can't ever, if video games disappeared, if somebody was going to go crazy, they'd find something else to trigger their craziness. Video games haven't been perfect. There's certainly instances that we can talk about and look at where the controversy has been correct and video games have taken a misstep. But overall, I like to think they're positive. The fact that we're doing a video game podcast like this wouldn't have existed 50 years ago. That's great. And, without wanting to sound too morbid, but, as the older generation moves on and the younger generation moves up, they'll continually be more and more accepted. And I think through that, we'll be able to do a better job with them overall.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one to answer, but I think a lot of the negatives around video games have sort of been amplified because it's come up with the use of social media as well. I think just because it's just sort of gamers culture and social media has been linked in the last 10 years. Twitter has become, and Reddit and all these places have become a haven of sort of toxicity that's been linked to gaming. So I think a lot of it gets amplified because of social media. But I think all of that stuff, all of those attitudes existed in different cultures before then. So I think a lot of the negative stuff that games get accused of is just sort of being amplified a bit more than it needs to be, if that makes any sense, what I've just said.
No, I know what you mean. It's true, though.
Yeah.
It's never an easy... Yeah, I mean, you can go and drink up any study and then apply it to video games, but I think it all depends how you see video games to begin with. If you think they're negative, you'll find the negative reasons. If you think they're positive, you'll find the positive reasons. I personally, I wouldn't be here today without video games, so... I'm quite on board. Garth, if BioWare gave you a choice between KOTOR 3 or Jade Empire 2, which would you go for? KOTOR 3, dude. I mean, it's a good Star Wars game. No one likes Jade Empire. That's not true. It's fine. But that's no KOTOR 3.
Yeah, I've never played either of them. So.
No way. Neil Gray, what video game would you live in if you could? Easy, WWE 2K, whatever. Then I'm a wrestler. Done. Nice. Thanks very much. Next. Sam, where do you want to live?
Ape Escape, Paulie, because then you can't monkeys over there and catch them in nets and everyone loves you for some reason.
Dear James Holmes, what is your opinion on Far Cry New Dawn? I didn't play it.
Yeah, I didn't play either. They look more like Far Cry 5, and I've not finished Far Cry 5. So.
Exactly, yes, too much. Ghostwriter, what's your stance on the add an easy mode to Sekiro conversation? Well, I
wasn't bringing that up to try and avoid the controversy.
I'll talk about it. I think it's crazy that people don't want it put in because it doesn't affect your video game. You can still play it on hard. That's what I don't get. And the argument of, well, it will take more time away from the developers. No, it won't. I mean, of course, there is an effort to do that, but I'm pretty sure going back and just going, enemies minus 50% or whatever is not going to ruin what Dark Souls or Sekiro or Bloodborne is. I'm not saying those games need an easy mode. I think it's up to From Software. It's From Software's game. It's their art, if you want to get into that conversation. And if they do want to add it, good. If they don't, good. But I would like an easy mode because maybe I could actually enjoy them more. Maybe the combat's brilliant for all I know, but I can't get into it. So, yeah, I would add it. I don't know why it's a conversation. I think it's crazy.
I don't really. A lot of the conversation around it is people saying, well, like, just water it down. A lot of people don't seem to get that, like, if you come at them being like, if it didn't change your experience at all and whatever you're playing right now would be in the hard mode, for example, would you still want it? And people are like, no, it would water it down. Go elsewhere if you want that. People don't seem to get that, like, you could still have that as another option, but without changing your current experience. A lot of people just seem so against it, sort of in knee-jerk sort of ways. It's a very strange conversation. But look at a little bit at Twitter, and it just gets me mad.
No,
like most things on Twitter.
But it's true. I don't know what. If I say to someone, if the game's exactly the same, they go, but nah. But the game's exactly the same, but nah. Like, bro, you're not even willing to have this conversation, Jimmy. You know what I mean? You're just being a dick. I mean, that's I don't. Anyway,
it's not like people on the internet to listen to your points.
I know, shocking, right? Absolutely shocking. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, give it an easy mode. Don't give it an easy mode, but don't pretend that it would ruin the video game if we did add it. I don't think that it would. Just Rocks. What's your favorite controller and console? Controller? Well, I guess the ones we've got now, right? Because they are the amalgamation of everything. It was a time when it was the N64 pad, but now that's like, trying to breathe through sand. It just doesn't work.
That's a great analogy.
It just doesn't work at all. But yeah, I think I think it's personal preference between the PS4 and Xbox One, but I think both are pretty good. I think they work fine. And in terms of what Nintendo's done with the Switch, I think that's great too. Again, we've just evolved. So yeah, I mean the Wii was good for a time, but we ran out of gimmicks, I guess, when it came to that. But no, I think where we are now is the best. I really, really do. That's why they're not changing anymore, because people finally realise we don't have to do this.
Yeah, I like what Xbox are doing because they've got a lot of customization options for their controllers as well, which is always great.
Absolutely,
so I think Xbox sort of pips it for me because you got so many like cool versions to have. You didn't really get that. You had sort of the crystal case ones that you had for PS2 and stuff, but you didn't have a load of choice.
I agree. They do all their disabled options as well, Microsoft, which is very cool.
Oh, yeah.
So good for them. Joseph, most pants shitting experience you've ever had with a game? Well, PT. When that mirror fell off the wall and everything else building up to that to create the atmosphere, I think I did die. I think I lost part of myself that day. PT is the scariest game I've ever played, ever. And I don't think anything will ever beat it because Kojima is nuts.
Yeah, I was actually... I watched you play it with, what was it, David Scammell? And honestly, like, it was just four of us in a room, and that was still the most terrifying experience I've had with a game. It's just like, it was so scary that I wasn't even playing it. It was awful. I couldn't have got through it.
It still is unbelievable to this day how the atmosphere of that game and how it honestly feels like it's ripping away at your very soul. And I know that sounds over the top, but that's honestly how it feels.
It's just that loop that progressively gets scarier, and that's
without that as well. If they'd made it more complicated, it wouldn't have been as scary. It is genius in many ways. I also hate it. Alex Hinton Smith, do you think the next main Zelda game will follow the Breath of the Wild open world formula or go back to a formula similar to the other games? No way, man. Breath of the Wild sold way too many. Especially, probably is the best selling title they've done, or at least in modern history. They're onto something. People love it. This is Zelda, and I'd say this is Zelda probably for the next decade or so. Personally, something that upsets me, but I understand it. It's all about business, and people love that game, so fair enough.
I don't think it will be the same sort. I don't think it'll just be Breath of the Wild 2. I think they'll take the open formula and just sort of... Because, to be fair, Ocarina of Time was sort of a little bit open in its time. And then just sort of do something different with it. Like maybe not as survivally, maybe not as sort of free to go where you like sort of thing. Because I think Nintendo don't sort of do the same thing twice. True. They just sort of innovate on what they've done. Like Odyssey had elements of the old Mario games, but it sort of had this whole new mechanic that changed the way you play. And all of them have been open sort of thing. So you could just do the same as Zelda, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I do think it will follow a similar... As the old Zelda games did, this will be the model they go on, not the old models. That's done. Yeah. Which sucks, but, that's life. We move forward. Max tonight, what's the most frustrated you've ever been with a game? I don't think we need to talk about that. We all know, unless you've got one, Sam. I mean, mine is obvious.
Mine's FIFA's Pro Clubs. It's always been.
Brilliant, it's true. The future. Why do turtles hate Mario so much? That's a good question. I don't know. They are trying to kill him. It's a great question. It's a great question. I don't have an answer for it.
Who knows? Maybe Mario started it, but you didn't see that in the game.
Do you know in the original Mario, in the instruction book, it said that all the blocks are people, that Bowser has turned into bricks. So every time he smashes them to get a coin,
maybe that's why they're like, stop killing everyone.
Yeah, maybe Mario's the bad guy. Mario's the bad guy.
Blew the lid off that.
Joseph, what are your thoughts on Metal Gear and the Metal Gear Solid series? Mixed bag. Metal Gear Solid, the first one, is amazing. Genuinely innovative and groundbreaking, really, in terms of the things they came up with. Metal Gear Solid 2 I find is an acquired taste, but I love it. Metal Gear Solid 3 is probably the best in the series, but I don't like the presentation as much. And then Metal Gear Solid 4 I think is wonderful. It's the most batshit game ever. And I never got around to playing Metal Gear 5 properly, because I just wasn't in the mood for another open world game. But overall, I think it's great because it's nuts. That's why. The story makes no sense. I don't know anyone that understands that story. So it's like, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's one of those series. I played 2 and 4. Don't ask me why. Awful choice. And it's one of those games. There's very few things that you could truly say, like, if you want this, you can only go here for that. Because like, there's no other game that gives you what Metal Gear Solid gives you. And for that reason, it's just like, it's just crazy. It's just so good because it's just so unique. A lot of people are just like, oh, Kojima just doesn't make sense. But I feel like that's just part of the joy of it. It doesn't really make sense, but it's great.
I think they wouldn't be as fun if they made sense.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So, in that sense, I love them. Even though they're probably rubbish on some level as well. I think that's fair. And I would go and grab one more. I'm trying to find one that we haven't answered, because some of these, which I get, some people just aren't. I like favourite Need for Speed game. That's brilliant, Raj. They're all the same, aren't they? I do like Need for Speed, but I couldn't pick. Actually, it's a lie. Need for Speed, the one with the canyon racing was my favourite that nobody liked and I did, to the point I can't even remember what it was called. But the one with the canyon racing, that was a great one. Oh, come on, there's got to be one on here. There's the Battle Arena Tashina question. Call of Duty dying. I can't find one. This is good, isn't it? This is exactly what you want on a podcast.
What's your favourite game trailer?
My favourite game trailer, Gears of War. It was a song. Mad
World.
Yeah, Mad World. Loved that. Thought it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It was, at the time, people weren't really making video game trailers like that. You know, most of them sort of followed the usual, what you'd expect. And then, of all people, Epic came along and went, nah, we're doing this. So, what's yours?
Modern Warfare 2's one with Eminem's Till I Collapse.
Oh, that's good as well. That's good as well.
Amazing one.
Oh man, I love it when people put money into video game trailers. They're the best. And finally, I will go with the same kind of question. What are your feelings about the Silent Hill franchise? I never played a Silent Hill game properly. The only thing I ever played was when they released the HD edition, and trying to play that was so hard because controls had moved on so much. I just gave up. I can't do this. It's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, it's one of those things I'm really torn about because I want to go back and finish 2 because I've never done it, but it's just so tiring with those controls. It can't be arsed.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's too much. But I like Silent Hill, and you asked about survival horror in general. Survival horror isn't really my thing because I'm a scaredy cat. But look, I respect it. It probably does need someone to come back and grab it by the horns and make it relevant again. Back in the 90s especially, it was huge. But that's the same with genres come and go. I'm sure at one point it will come back. PT should have been that game, but obviously then Konami and Kojima fell out. It's just not. I'll never be a massive fan because, again, it scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So that's that. Right, cool. Thank you very much for your question. That was good. We had loads more as well we didn't even get to. So much appreciated, everyone that threw in. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Again, youtube.com/The Mirror Report Rules. You can watch it on YouTube. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Simon316. Sam's there at Sam Bishop, 3 P's and a 1. You can check him out. And again, thanks to all patrons. Patreon.com/Simon316. That's how we're able to do this. And otherwise, I mean, look, just thanks very much for listening. Sam, you got any video game fun coming up in the next week or so?
No, I'm trying to think of games coming out, but I've got nothing.
Because nothing's coming out. Nothing's coming out. Actually, Mortal Kombat comes out. I think, just so you know, I can't do a podcast next week because I'm very lucky in the sense I'm going to WrestleMania. You're allowed to call me an asshole. And when we come back, Mortal Kombat 11 will be out. So we'll certainly jump into that and talk about it.
I'll be at Res, by the way. That's one thing.
There we go. Well, there we go. So Sam will have the indie stuff. I'll have the most AAA game in the world, or not most AAA, but the most like obvious video game in the world in terms of, let's make a game when you rip people's hearts out, and we'll just talk about that. But Sam, thanks as always for joining me.
My pleasure.
And yeah, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time as I gallivant off across America doing ridiculous things. But thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you again very soon.